Hello, everyone. Hello to everyone that's joining me today. Um, this is going to be a combination of the two videos that I normally do a week. The first part will be a check-in to see how everyone's doing. The second part we'll be discussing the articles. So it's just myself this week. Um, that's all right. How's everyone doing? Has everyone had a good week? I hope your week's been good. My week has been fantastic. Looking forward to well, getting through this one day at a time. For social studies this week, for 6th and 7th grade, you had to read there were 5 articles you had to read. And from those 5 articles, you had to do 4 of them for questions. Um, 8th grade, 8th grade, they had 5study.com articles. I'm glad you guys are doing good. Um, you'll get the math eventually, Sebastian. Um, but yeah, next week we will be moving on to the 60s, uh, defining moments of world history uh, for 6th and 7th grade. And for 8th grade, you will have not 5 articles, but 7 articles next week. So if there are any 8th graders here, you'll be doing that this week or next week. Um, you'll be fine. Hello everyone. Hello Christopher. Hello Haley. Hello everyone that showed up. Um, no, I hope everyone's doing well. I've been doing well myself. Went for a bike ride this week, a couple bike rides. Um, I just hope everyone is staying safe, staying busy, doing what they need to, and staying on task, and also having a little bit of fun. So for this week, we had 5 different articles um, covering a variety of topics. One having to deal with the death of Joseph Stalin, one on the Korean War, one on the discovery of DNA, one on a court case, and the other involving space. Overall, it was a wide topic of wide range of different topics. But each one of these is very important. I'm going to ask you guys, the one people that are here, which article do you think was the most important? Was it the death of Stalin? Um, was it the Korean War beginning? Was it the discovery of DNA? Was it the court case for Brown versus the Board of Education? Or was it the launching of the first man made satellite in Sputnik? I know which one I would choose, but what do you guys think? Which one do you think was the most important? And there's not that many of you, so please participate for the people that are here. All right, Sebastian thinks it's DNA. Okay, okay. Why do you think so? Why do you think the discovery of DNA was important? Or at least the chemical structure of DNA being discovered? It wasn't the first. It was the first discovery of the structure of DNA. Basically, it allowed for humanity to understand how we pass along what makes us us. Yeah. I mean, that's the key point, is that it allows us to understand how we pass along certain traits to our descendants. It defines what makes humans, well, humans in all sense of the word. It actually determines everything, well, from what makes animals have certain traits to what has bananas have certain traits. Um, and it's really important. And as you can see here, when they discovered what it was, um, that the founder and discoverer of it walked into a local bar and said that we had discovered the secret of life. And they're not far off. Because it really shows how what makes you you is passed down from your parents and their parents and their parents and so on and so forth, all the way back to a common ancestor. How we become what we are. So, that's why DNA is important. It allows us to understand the basic building block of uh, all life and how it functions and how it passes down certain traits for future generations. What about the death of Stalin? Is the death of Stalin important? Is the death of Stalin important? Let's see what you guys say. I know what I think, but we'll see what you guys think. I'll wait a couple of seconds to let you guys catch up. Okay. You both, the two of you that are responding, are saying yes. Well, why? Why is the death of Stalin important? Yes, I did put it on here, so I thought it was important. Um, but why do you guys think it's important to this list? What makes his death so important? Hmm? I can give you a few reasons, and I'll start with those while I wait for your guys' responses. Um, Stalin's death is important um, because he was the leader of one of the largest nations in the world, the Soviet Union, and he had been in charge of that nation since the 1920s. Not only that, he had um, well, helped defeat Adolf Hitler. On top of that, though, his death is what allows the Korean War to end. His death allows the Korean War to end. Because once Joseph Stalin died, even though North Korea had still been backed by China, they had lost one of their key supporters. So, they were forced to call for a truce to end the war. And that's why his death is so important. Because it makes sure that the Korean War ends in a tie. And the Korean War beginning is its own important day, because it is still a conflict that rages to this day. The fighting has stopped, but the war has not ended. There's a difference. The fighting has stopped on the Korean Peninsula, and the Korean Peninsula is still divided between North and South. To this day, the fighting has just, ended. But they're still at war. Not only that, the board and the reason the Korean War is so important is that it contains the one place on Earth that is probably the most defended in the world. The border between North and South Korea is one of the most militarized places in the entire world. And without the Korean War, this tension on the Korean Peninsula would not have happened. And without Joseph Stalin's death, the Korean War probably would have continued on a little bit longer. We've already talked about DNA, so let us move on to Brown versus Board of Education. I'm not even going to beat around the bush with this one. Brown versus the Board of Education is very important. Brown versus Board of Education begins the end of begins the end of legal racial segregation in the United States. Um, and really begins the process of the civil rights movement becoming into the mainstream culture and popularity during the 1960s. Um, Brown versus Board overturned 50 or almost 60 years of the United States' legal conditions. Uh, in the United States, and the Brown versus Board of Education brought an end to that. It began the process of racial integration in the United States in a way that is still ongoing in many cases and in many places. And that's what this case is so important. Even though it doesn't have an impact on the rest of the world as much, it has an impact immensely on the United States. And the United States has an impact on the rest of the world. If Brown versus Board of Education doesn't happen, then the United States' pressure on South Africa during the 1990s and 1980s to end apartheid, which was racial segregation in South Africa, wouldn't have happened because the United States still would have been a segregated country. And this is all just the dominoes that begin to fall in this chain of events that involves the civil rights movement. And finally, we come to the final event for this week, the launching of Sputnik and the dawn of the space age. This one is fairly straightforward for all intents and purposes. Humanity's made it to space. I mean, how cool is that? Humanity, for the first time, leaves its own earthly limitations and travels into space. In my opinion, this is by far the coolest. This event was game changing. Within the span of 12 years of this event, humanity had landed on the moon. Within 50 years of this event, humanity had built an international space station to conduct research in space together. The International Space Station, as we know it. I mean, I love this event. Uh, Even though it was won by the Soviet Union during the Cold War, which is a period of increased tension between Russia and the United States, it was still a massive accomplishment for mankind. It's the start of the humans exploring space. Humanity has left its earthly bounds at this point and is free to start exploring our solar system and the galaxy at large. And if we think back to the start of this, especially with my 7th graders that were here at the start of it, and we were talking about the invention of the telegraph and the invention of the car when this all started. And now we're talking about space in just 50 years from when we started this defining moment? I mean, that's huge. Think about how much Earth has advanced during that period of time. I mean, really think about it. In the time that we've been doing these defining moments of history, you have seen humanity evolve in many ways. Through two world wars, the invention of telegraph and the invention of the TV and the radio, you have gone through the death of leaders and wars, the sinking of the Titanic. You have seen humanity change and evolve. And now humanity has gone into space. And once humanity leaves its earthly bounds, humanity does not want to go back. Humanity is fascinated with space during this period of time, during the 50s and 60s, and even into the 70s. I mean, that it's just cool for all intents and purposes. It's really just awesome. So, so these were the 5 articles for this week. I see that there's 3 of you still here. You guys want to see what's coming up next? There are now 2 of us here. I wish more of you guys would show up. You guys want to see what's coming next and how I decide what articles I choose for each week? Alright. So I usually come to this website right here. We'll go back to the 20th century. And I just take a look here and see what events stand out to me. So we did on the 50s. So now we're going to be moving on to the 60s. Oh, there's a lot of things. Um, yeah, you can help. Sure. There's a bunch of different events that we can choose this week. Um, this week is probably going to be a lot of articles, simply because, as you can see, the 60s are a very, um, no, very important period in human history. Um, compared to the 50s, yeah, 60s are very important. Well, the first manned mission to the moon, of course. We have to do that. I'll post the link there in chat. Um, so we got to at least do the space age. Apollo 11 landing on the moon. What else do we want to do? Berlin Wall, construction of the Berlin Wall. That's an important thing. The European Free Trade Organization. No, not that one. What else could we do? The Second Vatican Council, that is very important, at least especially to our Catholic school. The Civil Rights Act in the United States, that was definitely an important event in world history. Ooh, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, that is a very important one to discuss. Let's pull that one up. There at the top. Oh gosh, the assassinations of MLK and Robert Kennedy. I mean, as you can see, there are um, a lot of important events here. There are a lot of possible events. I mean, where is the I Have a Dream? Ah, yes, the March on Washington. We can put that in there as well. Um, the Tet Offensive. I mean, that's important. The Troubles. I mean, I'm going to have to really narrow this down this week um, for tomorrow when I send these out because there are a lot of events here. I mean, the death of Winston Churchill and Malcolm X. Those are also important. The Gulf of Tonkin incident. The Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, we are talking about events that are huge up there. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 already. I mean, the creation of ARPANET, which was the earliest incarnation of the internet. That's important. I mean, we finally reached the deepest point on the Earth. I mean, that's huge. The construction of the first laser. I mean, these are all very important events. So, but yeah, as you can see, this is what I literally do. I just come through here and I read, and then I'll come here and look at this, and I'll be like, okay, so the Apollo 11 on this day. Okay. Lands on the moon. There you go, the 1969 moon landing. And this is what I do as I go through and I read the article, make sure that it's appropriate, make sure that it's not too long. And if it is too long, then I gotta find another one. So, well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today. If the people that are here have any other ideas for articles for this week, feel free to direct message them to me on Teams or send them to me in an email, and I will be happy to help add them to the list for today, for tomorrow. But well, yes, this is where I get all the info. This is where I get the information to start, and then I go and find another article. I don't stay on Wiki. I don't stay on Wikipedia. I use it to find out some of the most important events, and then I move on to another website. So, like, what's a good one? On this day, JFK is killed. John F. Kennedy assassinated. November 2nd. But by looking at this timeline here, it allows me to, get all the information in one place. I know a little bit about composite figures, not a lot. Certainly not enough to do any sort of talking on them. So yeah, does anyone else have any questions for me before I log off for the evening? Or log off of the video, at least for the evening. I just like using this because it's very easy to track the information and see, okay. I don't know. Just makes it very easy. This website, using the Wikipedia page. I mean, I don't stay here for all the information. I go find it elsewhere, but these will probably be most of the articles for the week at the top. And if there are no questions, I will see you all next week. Thank you all for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I do enjoy doing these. I wish more of you guys would come out, but can't have everything we like. And I'll see you all next time. Have a great evening and stay safe. Goodbye, everyone.